Chapter 4. Dad gets in the front of the cab. Sophia begs to sit in the front instead of Dad, but she quickly gives in. I think she'd sooner sprawl out over Mum and me in the back, as really she's tired, despite protesting that she's not. What a nice wedding, I say, yawning. Yes, so perfect, and everything so beautiful, Mum agrees. I'm sure they'll be very happy together, she says hopefully. My wedding will be better than Sasha's. I'm going to marry a prince. Of course, you'll all need a makeover, but it can be arranged. Sophia's prattling on again about her dream wedding day. The photographs will be in Hello magazine, after there's been a bidding war, of course. All my guests will wear purple with a white flower. Bored of her chatter, I tut and close my eyes. The taxi driver, a friendly-looking guy of about Dad's age, turns to smile at her. Sophia misreads his expression and thinks that he's impressed. You must come too, she says, beaming at him. It will be big. Dad starts talking to the driver. They're not really listening to her. I'm marrying a prince, Sophia announces loudly, and then just as suddenly closes her eyes, I open mine. You'll have to kiss a lot of frogs first, I mutter. But Sophia's already asleep. I wish it were as easy for me to fall asleep, but it's hard without having anyone to lean on. So your daughter's marrying a prince, hey? I overhear the taxi driver asking Dad. Dad laughs. No, only in her sweetest dreams. But you have found husbands for your daughter, no? He inquires more seriously. Well, they need to finish school first, then there's university and getting a job before they find their prince. I'm sure, Dad says very matter of fact. They will choose, you'll not decide for them, the taxi driver asked briefly, turning to Dad with a shocked expression. I listen and watch under nearly closed eyelids from the back seat, pretending to be asleep. Now I'm listening, interested. I listen intently, hoping no one notices I haven't fallen asleep. Mum sits silently, unaware I'm listening, and seems relieved. Dad's trying to get the taxi driver to see the error of his ways. My daughters will marry who I say, declares the driver, when Dad says nothing. After all, I know what's best for them. What do girls know? He taps the steering wheel as he speaks. And your daughters, Dad asked gently, what do they want? They want what I want. Listen, our children are being corrupted by the West. No matters, no morals. It's our job to protect them. You must agree. Dad says quietly, letting him finish. When my daughter Fatima turns 15, I'll take her home. It's already been decided. She will marry my brother's son. He's a good boy, training to be a car mechanic. They will live with my brother back home for a year or so. Then I'll bring them both back to the UK. You see, everything will be fine. How old is your brother's son? Dad asks. He must be about 25, 26. He's a good boy. It was decided over 10 years ago that they would be married. We have a close family. It's all been decided. He beams at Dad and turns to look at me as he stops at the traffic lights. Dad slows his voice down and speaks even more quietly whilst keeping a smile on his face. I've noticed it's a technique he uses to get someone to really listen. And if they don't want to marry, your daughter's very young, too young for marriage and too young to be sent to another country, especially if it's against her will. Let her get a good education, then allow her to decide. Ask her what she wants. There's no point in forcing them, Dad reasons. No, my brother said once they get an education, that it is. They are spoilt. They won't listen to us. They become too independent. I know what's best for my girls. They will do as I say. Anyway, they wouldn't want to bring shame to my family. How could I look my brother in the eye, hold my head up if she refuses to do what I say? No, it would be impossible. What does your wife say? Dad's tone was harshened. What do your daughters think about all this? What can they say? I'm head of the family. Listen, my brother, take your daughter in hand now. He glares in the rearview mirror and sees me watching him. I don't even try to hide my shock and displeasure. He shakes his head. Your honour is all you have, he tells Dad, but I know he's directing it at me. No, I'm afraid I don't agree with you, my friend. The love of my family is what I have. Women are to be treasured, cherished. All I want is for my children to be happy. Their happiness is our happiness, Dad impresses on him. All well and good, brother, but you don't want your daughters to marry a Gora or a Carla, do you? The driver says, almost spitting his words out. Dad has spent his entire life fighting injustice and so far has been going easy on the taxi driver. Fortunate for the driver, we arrive at our flat just as Dad's gearing up to give him the lecture of his life. So instead, Dad patiently and quietly pays the driver whilst Mum wakes Sophia and ushers us towards our flat. Before he closes the door, Dad leans back into the car and I hear him say one final thing to the driver. My friend, please do not force your daughters into doing anything that will cause them pain. I never hear a response. Dad closes the door and the conversation is over. As we struggle into our pyjamas and slip under the bed covers, Sophia babbles excitedly about the wedding. I'm silent, but my mind is racing. If I was that driver's daughter, Fatima, right now, he'd be making arrangements to marry me off to some man I didn't know, didn't love, and who was at least 10 years older than me. Mum shouts from the other room, "Quiet, Sophia, get to sleep now," and Sophia, surprisingly obedient for once, falls fast asleep. I shiver and turn over in bed, trying to keep warm, but I'm chilled to the bone and feel wide awake. I lie flat on my back and stare at the ceiling, imagining how different my life could be. Sophia's right, life isn't fair, but in a far worse way than she can imagine. I realise how much freedom I have, while some of my friends face a future much like Fatima's. I start to wonder again about Tara, who went on holiday in India and never came back.